and welcome to Baking with Chickens. I'm Christina. Today I am going to tackle the classic black and white cookie. I'm gonna say something really controversial. I don't like black and white cookies. I don't like black and white cookies.
She doesn't like black and white cookies.
They're not actually a cookie. It's a weird cake cookie thing. It's too sweet. There's too many flavors going on. It doesn't work. I hate it. Meh. Before you want to stab me with your pitchforks on fire, New Yorkers.
Get her. Yeah, get her. Burn her kitchen down. Yeah.
I get why you like the cookie, but I think it could be improved. So I'm gonna up your entire recipe and do my version. I think you'll like it. Sprinkle butt, sprinkle butt. Let's make this cookie better.
How about just make it not disgusting?
Stick around, I'll show you how I did it. Bok bok bake, let's go. Here is the original New York Times version of the recipe. Here is my version of the recipe. You can see the difference. First things first, I'm gonna stick to the same butter and less sugar. I cut the sugar because it was just way too sweet in the original recipe, from 3/4 cups to a 1/2 cup of sugar. And I added an extra pinch of salt to help offset it. I'm gonna crack an egg with one hand. 1, 2. Ha! Yeah, look at that. Woo! Fresh eggs make a huge difference. You want room temp eggs. They will make a difference in your bake. Why are eggs so important? Eggs play a very specific role. Eggs actually provide lift and rise to your baked goods. The egg yolks provide a certain richness. That's why you add eggs to your baked goods. It's a chemical process.
And it comes out of my butt.
If you like this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. What I find really strange about black and white cookies is the mix of lemon zest and almond extract and vanilla. It's like one too many things. It just tastes wrong. What I decided to do was to take out the almond extract, and instead, to add the nuttiness, I took out 1/2 cup regular flour and used 1/2 cup of almond flour instead. I'm going to take my salt, add it to my flour mixture, baking soda, and baking powder, and whisk it together. The other key here to your black and white cookies is milk and sour cream. Sour cream is the secret because it's that tanginess that's gonna add extra flavor and fat. I'm using whole milk, but you could also do any milk substitute, like a full fat coconut. And then lemon zest. I'm just going to zest it directly into here with my fancy new microplane zester, courtesy of Dice. This is my first adult microplane and I love it. It's so good. It's so much better than the crappy one I used to use. If you want to pick up this microplaner, I'll drop a link for it in the description below. It's available on Amazon. The original recipe called for vanilla extract, which I normally don't have a problem with, but I have these beautiful Tahitian vanilla beans. This is a very large, giant vanilla bean. Normally when you get them from the grocery store, they're like this big. So 2 of the small ones or 1 big one would be perfectly sufficient. I'm gonna show you how to get the vanilla bean paste out of a vanilla bean pod. So you're gonna take this big one, trim off the ends. So you're gonna find this kind of like hollow piece because it's like a straw, it just flattens and dry. And I'm gonna cut a slit down the side. I'm just splicing it open and flatten it with my knife. Inside of this are all of these beautiful vanilla bean seeds. To get these out, you just need to take your knife, flip it over, use the back of your knife to scrape. Here's the beautiful vanilla beans, and I'm gonna just drop it in my milk. So I'm gonna save this pod for later because I'm gonna use this to infuse some of the milk that I'm gonna use for the icing. Let's stir this together a little bit. So now we're gonna add the dry and the liquid ingredients a little bit at a time to incorporate into this batter. So I'm gonna put it on low and start adding. I love the little vanilla bean specks. I think it looks really pretty. I think it's gonna change the flavor of this. So the black and white cookie actually came to America in 1902, and it was introduced by Bavarian immigrants in New York, in Manhattan. So that's why you see black and white cookies all over New York City and all over Manhattan. They were brought by Bavarian bakers, introduced to New York, and everybody went crazy over it. Also, during that time, black and white things were really popular in pop culture. So black and white tiles, subway tiles, those like penny tiles. So that's why you saw a lot of these black and whites. The cool thing is, in New York City, they're called black and white cookies. In upstate New York, they're called half moons. And in the Midwest, they're called Harlequins.
Harlequin's dope.
So I've got my cookie sheets lined with silicone mats. You can also line them with parchment paper. I'm not making these too large. I don't like those huge cookies. If you like big ones, get a big ice cream scoop, all good, whatever you want to do. My friend Nosh with Tosh made these cookies with sprinkle butts. So the cool thing is the tops of these cookies are actually going to be the bottoms of the cookies. So if I put sprinkles on top now, I'm going to frost the bottom of the cookies so the tops become the bottoms, therefore sprinkle butts. I love what she did. I thought it was so fun and creative, and it just makes a boring black and white cookie more festive because everything is better with sprinkles. We have sprinkle butts. I have these awesome fancy sprinkles and these rainbow nonpareils from Cake Craft. So because I'm baking them into the oven, they are gonna bleed into the batter a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm gonna pop these into the oven for 6 minutes at 375. Flip it over so that they bake evenly, and then bake it for another 6 minutes. Also, something to note, the type of pan you're using is going to affect how long it bakes for. So this type of cookie sheet that has like the air bake layer is not going to cook your bottom part as fast. So if you have something like macarons or these where you really need the bottoms to cook up or else they stick, these are going to need a little bit more time than just like a flat metal baking sheet. So the other pan that I'm using is a flat baking sheet, and those are going to cook faster. So this is the example of the type of pan that the bottoms are going to bake faster than the air bake pans. So I'm going to let them cool on the pan for a little bit for them to kind of stiffen up before I take them off and put them on a cooling rack. Let's go visit the chickens, and I'm going to bring them a little snack. So let's get these onto my cooling racks. Look how cute these little sprinkle butt cookies turned out. While these finish cooling, I'm gonna make the icing. The original recipe said to use boiling water to help melt it and give it that shine. And then other recipes had milk. So I decided to use oat milk because it's not quite dairy, but it's got a creaminess to it, and I think it'll be really good. And I want to infuse my vanilla flavor with my leftover vanilla pod instead of the extract. So I need some fat to help carry that flavor. So I'm gonna heat this up and take my leftover vanilla pods that I have here. So I'm butterflying them open and just putting them face down into the milk. Put it on low heat just to simmer. While that's happening, I am going to chop up unsweetened chocolate and melt it in my double boiler. And I'm gonna keep it on some heat to keep it melted and leave it here. To make the vanilla portion of the frosting, we're gonna need all of this confectioner sugar, which is why this entire thing is so sugary to begin with. And I'm gonna add a large pinch of salt. The original recipe said to use light corn syrup. Now, corn syrup is really important because the corn syrup is what adds that shininess to the fondant style icing and gives it that texture. But corn syrup is kind of nasty stuff, and I'm not a big fan. I'm gonna use agave instead of corn syrup to try to give it that shininess. The original recipe had 1.5 tablespoons of corn syrup. So I'm just gonna do a little bit less than 1 tablespoon and see how it goes. Ooh, agave syrup is also a really great secret to Mr. Bacon with Chickens loves making and agave syrup is his secret to how to make not hot.
Just so you know, I'm gonna edit that part out. You're not giving away my secret.
You guys, did you just hear what he said? He will not share his secret for He's so upset at me. So I got my agave. Look at this beauty. So here's my infused vanilla oat milk. Nice and vanilla-y. It's got those vanilla beans in there. Now let's ice these beautiful babes. I'm gonna take the cookie, flip it over, and just ice the back. Yeah, this is so much better than the original. It has that real vanilla flavor. It's not too sugary. It's like, oh, so much better. Come back to the stove with me. I'm gonna take this vanilla icing and scoop it into my double boiler. I'm trying to cut the sugar and the sweetness, so I like the dark better than regular. All of it's unsweetened. The only sugar in it is from the confectioner sugar. The flavor of this chocolate, which is different than the original recipe in the New York Times, is that because I'm using dark chocolate, it's got a bittersweet taste to it. It isn't as sweet. It's got a really nice chocolatey flavor. I'm taking the flat part of the spatula and my chocolate and pouring it on, drawing this line, and then filling out the rest. So taste test time, how'd I do? Super awesome. So the cookie is definitely a lot thinner. So I like the texture of it because it's not as cakey. The cookie itself is less sweet, which is great. But it has a nice little crisp on the edge. I like that. Super good. 5 stars. I would love if you did your own comparison. All the people who hate black and white cookies, tell me what you think. For all of you who love black and white cookies, and I am bastardizing your childhood classic, tell me what you think about these. I would love to know if you feel the original ones are better than mine or vice versa. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Christina, that's Miles, and my trash panda muffin. Mwah.